WesWes Show.
Sort of.
That's good, man. That's good. Now you don't have to drop off, or you don't have to pretend to drop off.
I'm just thinking they pretend to drop off. Like, it's breaking out. I gotta go.
But
Yeah. Boys, man, guess what? The NBA season is here.
Yeah.
We're 6 days into the NBA season, the new NBA season. You know, and there's no lockdowns and shit. You know, the stadiums are packed full of people. You know, the crowds are back. There's no more guy doing the special effects, the sound noise and all that stuff. But nah, man, it's been great, man. And you know, I've been watching the games all these 6 days, because I know we're on lockdown here in Auckland. So you know, on the side, working plus watching the game on the side. But man, I've been enjoying these 6 days, man. How about you guys?
It's been good.
been loving it, man. It's been great. So many games and got multiple screens up at the same time.
Yeah.
Shit's what's up. It's good.
Hell yeah.
All right. Now, you know, today on this episode, since this opening, we'll talk about the openings of the NBA season and how our teams have been doing. They probably had at the most 3 games or 2 games, at least already. So we'll check up on that. But first of all, what the NBA did, because it's the 75-year anniversary of the NBA, so they came up with the 75 top players of the NBA. So they did it for the 50-year mark. They did the top 50 players, and now 25 years later, they're doing the 75 top NBA players. Now, there was a lot of debate on who got left out of this top 75 list. I know it's real subjective. You know, it's been voted by the media and analysts in states. So, you know, this has come out, and there's been a few debates on who missed out. So I just want to start with you, Ash. Before we get into who you think should have made the list, can you just talk about the list itself?
The list itself. So I'll just pull it up right now. Oops, sorry, because I can't really see. I'm just trying to fucking do a split screen here. But oh, there we go. So, I mean, look, to be honest, majority of the guys, I reckon they got it right. The only thing, and it's kind of annoying, man, and it's sort of it's the culture nowadays, is they throw people up on pedestals before they've really done a lot of shit. You know, it's like some motherfucker might play 2 games in the NBA, like, oh my god, it's the next Kobe Bryant. Like, what the fuck's he done, man? Like, really, you know what I mean? So, you know, we go back to that list. They've got all the greats, you know. So you got the Kareems, you got Tim Duncan, you got Dr. J, you got Moses Malone, Pete Maravich, Kevin McHale, George Meek, Reggie Miller. You know, the list goes on. Hakeem, Shaq, Robert Parrish, Gary Payton, Lenny Wilkins, Dominique Wilkins, James Worthy. But I think it's the guys that are younger on the list that are current players or recent players that I've got a little bit of a thing about. I think there's too many of them, Moose. Like, there's too many guys that are still current on that list. Like, they haven't finished writing their story. There's a handful of guys on the list. You know, you got like the LeBrons and whatnot. Like, even Giannis, that's, I guess, what he's done so far. Yeah, you could say he's sort of earned that. Maybe it's the defensive player. If he hadn't won a chip last year, I don't think he deserves to be on that list. Albeit, look, man, all props to Dame Dollar, you know, but he don't deserve to be on that list either, man. What the fuck's he done, dog? Like, honestly, there was some debates the other day about Dwight Howard versus him. Like, dude, I sent you that shit, remember, Cam? I was like, if it's based on accolades alone, Dwight should be on that list. But I wouldn't put Dwight there either. Like, personally, I mean, I know he's a Laker and all that, but, you know, I just think that there's some names on that list that people are sort of pumping a little bit too early. Bro, Kawhi Leonard, like, really? Are you serious, man? Like, the fuck, man? Like, I haven't given enough thought to this, because lists like this, it's a fucking can of worms. Like, they make these lists for these discussions, and at the end of the day, I think rings count. more so than not. So there's a lot of guys on that list that don't have rings. You know, Charles Barkley, like motherfucker, like yes, you were a great player, but I don't know, man. There's some other guys that I could probably come up with if I did my homework properly that probably deserve a spot on that list as well. Probably more so than him. Actually, I didn't check. Is Robert Horry on that list? Because if Robert Horry ain't on that list, then there's a couple motherfuckers that you could easily scratch off because he's a direct. If it wasn't for Robert Horry, there wouldn't be certain rings for certain teams. You know what I mean? Now, I guess he isn't single-handedly like a great player, a guy that would be your number one player on your team. But what are we looking at? Like, what's the criteria that they're basing this list of 75? If you're talking about, I guess, influential players, like people who have influenced the game and, you know, attracted more people to watch the game, then I guess you could make the argument for people like Giannis and Steph and like that, you know what I mean? Because, yeah, they've helped grow the game even more so than it is now, than it already was when they started. But, yeah, to be honest, Zeus, it's one of those things that it's just there to fucking piss people off, really, at the end of the day, because you're just going to have, like, endless arguments, because there is no right or wrong answer to it. Unless there was like a real strict criteria and you'd be like, nah, he didn't play enough years or whatever, you know what I mean? But I mean that's my thing. The only thing about this whole 75 anniversary is that if you get a jersey this year, that shit's hella dope because it's got the little diamond fucking shit on the Nike or the Jordan logo, whatever jersey you get, in the NBA thing on the back. That's dope. That's the only reason I want to get a jersey this year. It's good, is to have one of those and shit.
You know, Ash, as a Portland Trail Blazers fan and a Dame Lillard fan, I have to agree about that call on Dame Lillard being on there. I think you have to look at what they've done, and some of these guys that are on there that are still playing and that are new. Like you're right, they haven't even written their whole story yet. But yeah, that's interesting. How about you, Adam?
Yeah.
What's your take on the 75 list?
Yeah, I'm same as Ash. Like, you just look at, you know, I'm looking through it. Like, you got people like Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, who aren't even on there. And yeah, there's just no criteria stated. So if it's purely on chips, like what, you know, Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook, like Dame, like what the fuck? Come on, like there's people who have been slightly more influential in teams that have won chips. I'm not saying Chuck Clay on there, but you know, like Klay Thompson or just people who have actually done a little bit more for a team. But yeah, we don't know what the criteria was. If it's influential guys over the past 75 years, whatever. Yeah, they put bums in seats. They attract a wide audience. Yeah, I'd agree with that if that was what their criteria was. But they haven't stated what it is. So as Ash said, you know, this is just like to piss people off and get people arguing, you know, because we don't already need to argue about COVID and masks and shit. Like, let's just throw a fucking controversial list out there and say the best ever. Like, what the fuck? Best ever what? Best ever what? I'll fight you. Like, yeah. So, yeah, same shit, man. Like, it is what it is. They haven't given a criteria. They just stirred the pot, man, which is good, you know. Take our minds off the current shit that's going on in the world right now, but yeah, list is what it is, but you got some great people missing off there. It's crazy.
Now, how about this real quick? Hey, Cam, there are 4 current Lakers on that fucking list. That's how strange it is to me. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, you got Westbrook on it. No, look, Westbrook, he's done some shit with his whole triple-double thing that I think, look, that warrants, okay, cool, you deserve a spot on that list. But AD, I love AD, but what the fuck has he really done other than win all those Defensive Player of the Year awards? Which then, if you're gonna put him then you should put Dwight. So it's like it's this whole like, because to be honest, I think Dwight's got more accolades than AD. Now again, I'm not trying to say that Dwight should be on there. It's just that if we're looking at who's in there and who shouldn't be and all that sort of shit, then you just look at that. Fuck.
That's another one. This one will piss you off. CP3's in there, Ash.
Like, yeah, I know. What the fuck, dog? Really? Come on, man. Point guard my ass, dog. Dude, if he's point guard, then what the fuck is Magic Johnson?
Exactly.
If he's the point guard, like, come on, man. Like, no, but look, he's got like records and shit. You know what I mean? Like how many assists nobody's had. Didn't he do some shit lately? Like most
20,000 points and 10,000 assists.
10,000 assists. There you go. So.
It's a made-up fucking stat, though. Like, come on.
LeBron's gonna be there too. Like,
exactly. Like, he's the first, but everyone else is probably like not far off.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I mean, what's CP3 done outside of that? So yeah. He's fucking
But
annoying.
I think if you look at all the point guards that are on there, maybe the one down the picking order at the bottom there is Gary Payton, the glove. If you put Chris Paul above him, Gary Payton has won a ring? He did with Heat in Miami.
Now, albeit it wasn't like him leading the team as their starting point guard. He was the man, but he got himself a chip.
He was in his prime in the Seattle Supersonic days, and he
was dealing with Jordan. Jordan robbed a lot of good players. You know what I mean? Jordan robbed a lot of good players of rings in that period. Charles Barkley, one of them, Dominic Wilkins. There's a couple guys that didn't get their chip because they couldn't get past Jordan. And then when Jordan left, then fucking Hakeem was like, "Fuck it, well, we'll take those chips." So the East still didn't get their shit, man. Like the Knicks. There's a couple times around then where the way they're doing it with merit, based on the sort of the merit I'm seeing, like I'm surprised they didn't put like a fucking, I don't know, let's say like a fucking Larry Johnson or something stupid like that. John Starks, like, I don't know. They put people in there with nicknames.
For example, if some of these players will be on the same level as, say, Mark Price, who's not even on this list, and if you knew what Mark Price was doing back in his Cavs days,
bro, in the '80s there were so many good players. Is Patrick Ewing on the list? I don't think he's on the list, is he? Oh no, he is. Sorry, my bad. I see him there. There we go. I mean, they've done. There has been some science put into this list, because if you roll through that list, you're like, man, nah, he was great. He was great. He was great. But there's just, I just feel there's too many it's currently active players on that list. Guys like LeBron, or like I said before, Westbrook, even CP3. I guess he does have his accolades that sort of back up why he should be on the list. But some of the other guys, just, I don't know, man, not yet.
Yeah, exactly. Like I assume they're gonna do this again in 25 years' time to make the 100 top list. That they could wait till then.
Fuck, that'll be hard though. You imagine you're only adding 25, and in 25 years, how many more superstars or guys that are current players now that haven't hit stardom or haven't finished writing their career in 25 years? It'll be hard as fuck. You won't be able to keep all those 75 in there. You're gonna have to drop people out. You're gonna have to move shit around again.
I think they did drop someone out on the 50A, did they? To make way for this new 25. I'm not sure, but
that would be an interesting thing to look at. See the 50 and see who's on there that's not on the 75.
Yeah, something to do for homework, my boys. But but I just want to go around. Now and start with you, Adam. Who is your guy that's not on this list that should be on this list?
Oh man.
And who are you gonna replace?
Like, if I just want to be controversial to go against, like, current what's going on and sort of to really just piss the league off, I'm gonna take out CP3 and replace it with Kyrie Irving, because the league fucking hates him right now and he's being an absolute douchebag. But only if we're basing it on chips, right? Because he's got chips.
He's got Doritos.
Yeah. He's got chips but no jabs.
Fuck, he's got no dip. Fucking poor fucker. Oh god. All right, I'll throw one in there. Cam?
Yeah.
How about, oh god, what the hell was his name? It just crossed my mind right now. What was the fucking Croatian dude who died? Who played for the Nets? Petrovic. Drazen Petrovic.
Yeah. Yep.
All day.
He's not on here. He's not on this list.
No, I don't. Is he?
Oh wow. He's not. Oh, he should be.
So I would take out someone of the likes of, like, maybe say a Damian Lillard or or Kawhi Leonard and drop him in there instead. Now again, he didn't win chips, but people forget he was Steph Curry before we even knew what a Steph Curry was. That motherfucker, he was raining shit, and then he died. And I've actually got I've got his rookie card. You know how much that shit is worth, though? You know what I mean? Like, that on its own, like, he opened up, there was a lot of people in Eastern Europe that looked at him as being like their Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? And when he died, he paved the way. It wasn't for players like him, you wouldn't see the Lukas and all that sort of shit. You know what I mean? So I don't know if they gave enough love to some of these European East European players. You know, like the the dudes from overseas. Because I'm just trying to look at this list. Just mostly all Americans, huh? You got Dirk,
like
you got Hakeem.
I didn't even think Yao Ming's in there or Mutombo. Like,
yeah, you're right, Oos. Mutombo ain't on it, and neither is Yao Ming. And if
like Yao Ming,
he changed the game.
Bums on seats for over in Asia, man. That's
Straight
why
up.
the market's so big. So, yeah.
Oh, that's cool, boys. You know, for me, I'll have Tracy McGrady in there because that man, I don't know why that guy's not in there. But I'm just looking at the stats real quick. So for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for 6 years, he was averaging 30 points. You know, 2001 when he was with Orlando, that was his highest average, 33 points. But you know, that's him in his prime, and he was a dominant player those years, you know, before he got injured, and before that slowly declined his career. But yeah, man, I think there's a few players like that, like Tracy McGrady, Grant Hill might be a good one.
Ooh, Grant Hill, yeah,
You
man. Oof, Grant Hill.
Anthony Hardaway.
Yep. If you're gonna put guys like Damian Lillard in that on there, why you could put him in there? He went to the finals. You know what I mean? Dame Dollar ain't been to the finals yet. Penny and Shaq went to the finals. Yeah. Lamar, look, Lamar Odom didn't do a lot of shit, but he was sixth man of the year, and he was an integral part of those of those Laker chips when he was with Kobe and that, you know. Look, it's another thing. It's like shit. Like you know how you talked about T Mac not being on the list and how he's averaging doing all that shit. You think about how all those years where LeBron and Kobe got robbed of MVPs, where they were the standout best player in the league. Like, and Steve Nash, for example, won those back-to-back MVPs and fucking had Kobe's name pretty much written all over it, and they threw it over the top of it. If Nash don't get those MVPs, he's not on this list. Because he's not on that list because he won championships and all this and broke all these other records. He's on there because he won 2 back-to-back MVPs. That's the only reason Nash is on that list. And he was a point guard of that fucking team that was the offense of 7 seconds or less. So, yeah.
Whoa. MVP. So is Jokic not on this list?
Was that?
Jokic.
Nah.
He's not. The Joker. He's not on this list.
Nah.
Harden is though.
Yeah, like what? That's what I mean. Like,
So no chips. Like, sure, he's an offensive, like, there's no one like him, but like, what records does he have and what chips, right? Like, he's an MVP once as well. So like, there's players on there who they haven't finished their story yet. Like, Harden's one of them. He's not done, and if he was done now, would he be a great? Probably not.
Oh,
But he
shit.
can still.
I just realized. How about this shit? How the hell is Ray Allen on this list and you ain't got Paul Pierce on that list?
No, Pierce is and Garnett.
Is Pierce on there?
Yeah, and Garnett. KG's on there.
Nah, Ray Allen's on there because he missed that shot against San Antonio in that
But how many?
that finals.
But how many chips is that?
LeBron
That's
wouldn't have had one last
Yeah,
ring.
but that's one. What about Robert Horry? How many shots does that motherfucker make? And that'll count to like 7 chips. You know what I mean? Like, he made big shots for Houston when they won their back-to-backs. He made big shots for the Lakers when we won our three-peat in 2 of those. And then he did the same thing for San Antonio.
They've
He should be on that
made
fucking
this list. They're like, here are the 5 best people from each like team, and we'll just throw them up there. The 5 most recognized players from each team in their best position, and I think that's what they've done.
Bro, Paul Pierce ain't on the list, man. Oh, no, sorry, my bad.
Bad he is. He's at the bottom. Fuck, I kept looking past it.
Oh, is it?
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, fuck, they blackballed him because of that ESPN shit. I was about to say, man, here's another argument, man. But I can't stand him, but still.
Well, at least we can rule that blackballing stuff out of the criteria, so we know that you can call some shit and still
That's
get
right.
on this list.
Yeah. Strippers and
Except
weed is
Kyrie.
all good.
Yeah, so why is Kyrie not there? Man, he caused the most shit at the moment.
Nah, he's too weird, dudes. They
Yeah,
they let Rodman in.
they didn't let.
See, it doesn't make sense.
They didn't let
the
Ron
criteria
Artest in.
don't make sense.
But to be honest, Rodman, he just like he's hands down one of the best defensive players ever. But that motherfucker had crazy ass stats. Like, his rebounds were ridiculous. You know, he had like 20 rebound games with like 0 points and 0 assists. Like 0 shot attempts.
Shit, then why is Bruce Bowen's not there? Why is Bruce Bowen on there?
You could, yeah, exactly. You can start making all sorts of crazy. Oh, what's his name? Tony Allen.
yeah.
Hey, FYI, did you guys know what's happened with Tony Allen, huh?
No.
He's part of that group of players that are all getting done for fraud, for medical fraud. There's a whole bunch of them and shit, but most of them were all like role players that really didn't do shit. But they all had like they were doing like fake injuries or whatever and getting paid and all like there's a whole. They're all getting fucking going to court and shit. And apparently Tony Allen was one of the fucking linchpins of the whole thing and shit. It's kind of sad.
Well, he looks like a gangster even on the court.
Yeah, man.
He looks like coming straight out of Boys in the Hood or something. Minister of Society. But boys, that's real good, eh? But let's just change the subject now and talk about the opening of the season and where our teams are going. So right now I'll start with you, Adam. How's the Boston Celtics? So how many games they've had so far?
3 games.
Yep.
Yeah, but first I'll just say, these are my 2 picks for each division right now. So it's just a coincidence that I've got Warriors and Hornets, and they're both undefeated. Just saying. Got this preseason. The Celtics one's in the rubbish. Rubbish. It's in the wash right now. We don't need to wear that.
Yeah. Sonny, what you do is you cut it up into strips and then you just you roll it over the toilet roll in the toilet.
That's my Kimber Walker one, but Tatum, I'll keep it round. But yeah, no. So I mean, the first game, Celtics double overtime with the Knicks. I mean, that game, man, that was a good game, and I had the Celtics losing, so they didn't let me down. They just did it in style. They're probably, one of the stronger teams. They basically got the same record as the Nets right now, same record as the Lakers. There's probably a few teams with more established rosters that should be doing better than what they are. Celtics, I still don't think they have a strong roster. They got a new coach. So I really don't see them making the top 8. If they do, they might get into the wild card, or they'll be out in the first round again unless things kind of change around. I think they're going to take a couple seasons to feel out, the new coach and their roster. But yeah, that's all I can say about the Celtics. Fun to watch them when they win. I don't have high hopes for them, but my number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference right now, Hornets. That's where my money is. That's my early sleeper. Not a sleeper right now. They're 3-0.
Yeah, I watched that game where they lost their first game. Who did they play? They played
the Knicks.
They played the Knicks, right? And they lost. But I was really impressed with Jaylen Brown. Now he's averaging high scores for the team at the moment. He's 27.5 points per game, 3 assists per game, and 6.5 rebounds over Jason Tatum, who's scoring 23 points per game. Yeah, that was good. It's good to see him. It's good to see Jaylen Brown take some initiative there, because he was injured last year, eh?
For the playoffs, yeah.
For last season.
Yeah, for the tail end of the season. But like the big problem, or the thing the Celtics haven't been able to solve since they've had both is Brown and Tatum like coexisting on the court together. Like they never have a game where they both like hit 20s or 30s. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's similar to just 2 ball hungry players, but yeah, I've never seen a game, and Ash may have seen it, but I've never seen a game where they've kind of coexisted and carried a team together. It's always one guy's hot, the other's not, and that was the case, against the Knicks. Tatum just couldn't sink a bucket, and Brown was unreal. He was injured today, and then Tatum got 20-something or 30-something, so they just need to figure that out. Otherwise, they're not going to be around together much longer. They might end up having to go their separate ways, which is a shame. But a couple seasons ago, not last season, like the season before, Brown was probably going to have a breakout season. He's a one season All-Star, but I think, yeah, he might need to go elsewhere to really realize his potential and go with a team that's probably, yeah, I don't know. Those two are just...
Come to the Lakers.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, nah,
Come back to LA, homie.
your team will take anyone.
Come back to
Oh,
Canada.
your team is taking anyone right now.
No,
LA Lakers is taking anybody
hey,
right
man,
now. But
I'm waiting for them to come back on my application, dog.
yeah, I think it will be a shame if they do break up that core because that's been the core for a long time. Tatum, Brown, and Marcus Smart. So if they haven't, figured it out by now, then it's probably time to trade. And with the new coach they have, probably what's going to happen.
I think. What you're saying about Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart not like being able to coexist before, I think because they're both always being stuck with the hardest defensive assignment, and you can never have them coexist because you will always come in one end for the other. You know what I mean? And it was sort of one of those things where like you have two players that occupy the same space, and you can only ever have one of them in that space. And they've been able to sort of spread it out now because they don't have a ball dominant superstar point guard. Whereas in the past, you had the likes of Kyrie or Kemba Walker, like these, even to an extent, Scary Terry and shit. But those guys, they were like the man as a point guard. Whereas now, you don't have that point guard, that like sort of leader of the team point guard. Jason Tatum's now the man. You know what I mean? Just real quick, do you guys know about Jaylen Brown? Like about him off court? He is like the smartest dude in the entire NBA. Before he decided to go to fucking to the NBA, NASA was trying to fucking recruit the. I'm serious. He's got like a degree in like astrophysics or some crazy shit. Like he could be a rocket scientist. So his IQ is fucking beyond. And apparently they were dealing with that problem with him because they were struggling to keep him interested. So I think part of that is maybe he's now sort of coming in and he's accepted, whatever he had going on inside his head where he was like, man, this shit's boring. He's finally engaged. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird to think about a player in the NBA that needs to be engaged, but with somebody like him who's that smart, I think MIT were trying to get you should just look it up, man. One day it's a trippy read. I came across it one day and it blew me away. I didn't know he was like that.
I think when you watch the Boston Celtics games, you hear the commentators say it sometimes.
Do they?
Man, he's got an IQ. This guy.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
That's right. He went to Cal State, so he was a Bear. He went to California, and then they were trying to get him to go to MIT from there, but he got drafted to the NBA. And then NASA was trying to get their claws on him. Jaylen Brown's gonna save the world, Oos.
Okay, now we come to the LA Lakers. So, what's going on, man? Are you hitting your panic stations right now?
No, so we finally won today. And to be honest, it'll take the good part of the first probably 10, 15 games. This is extended preseason for the Lakers. Anytime you bring in 11, 13 new players to a team, you're always going to have an adjustment period, no matter who the hell is on that team. Some teams, it's faster than others. People are going to say, oh, well, look at Brooklyn. That shit worked out. They weren't like that. Well, what the fuck did Brooklyn do last year? What the fuck did they do the year before? They didn't do shit. So, I mean, look, we could say that they were a toenail away from making it to the finals last year. But at the end of the day, they didn't make it. So, it all different teams. But my Lakers, I'm not that worried. It was actually refreshing today to see Westbrook connecting a bit cleaner. People expecting that ball. In the first game, he hit Rondo in the face, with a pass. Didn't expect it. There were a couple other times where he was dropping the ball, and somebody just underneath the rim, and they're like, oh, shit, and it just falls out of bounds, And he's being a bit more... He was overpassing, was one of those things. I think it's great seeing Melo. Fuck, man. Today, he passed Moses Malone for 9th all-time on the scoring list. Hell yeah, he was... Fucking, he popped off, man. What did he get? He was 6'8" from the 3-point line, and he dropped 28. He was the leading scorer for the Lakers today. It was great.
Locked in.
Yeah, man. It was amazing seeing them do that shit. Like today, LeBron, fucking hell. Like he only scored 19 points, but homie had six assists, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 2 steals. Like he filled up the stat sheet. And he only had 3 turnovers. AD, what was it? amazing, but he had 22, 8, and 4 blocks. Westbrook, he was front with a triple-double. He had 13, 7 rebounds, and he still had his 9 turnovers. But you sort of expect that. But a lot of times when people talk about big turnovers, you think, oh, man, that dude's sloppy with the ball. But people forget, man. If you look at the list of all time of like the people with the most turnovers, the same people on that list are the same ones on the all-time assist leaders list, because those who dish the ball also hand out turnovers. Because if it doesn't get to who you're trying to pass it to, and that's all you do in all game, that's a turnover. So, anyways, I was happy with that. Today's game was interesting. Seeing Ja try to do everything. Unfortunately, the refs weren't even enough to help him win that game. But that's a story for another day. We'll see how bad these refs continue to ref us for the next 4 or 5 games, and see if I could change my opinion on that shit, because that's some bullshit, yo. That game against Golden State, that
sound like James Harden,
bro. Fuck it. Be like, this is shit with my beard. Nah, bro. The referee has been like, they said that they're gonna take away that whole thing, like with James Harden and Steph Curry getting those fouls. You know, when they jump in an unnatural way to get the contact. And in the first game of the season, Lakers and the goddamn Warriors, what does Steph do? He jumps up and he moves himself to the side, gets contact, and they call the fucking shooting foul. You're like, are you serious? Really? I thought we made that rule for these motherfuckers, and you're just going to go ahead and act like we're still in last year. So I don't know. We'll see how it keeps on going. I'll keep talking about it, but... But hey, so you missed the last one, Adam. We did we did some way too early picks for the end of the year, and yeah, you got to get your picks in there too, so we can see fucking in Oh, so you were serious? I was like, I know you said that, but I wasn't sure. You talking about like this week?
They'll make the playoffs.
Oh yeah, hard out. I reckon they make the playoffs.
He's balled 22 points averaging per game series, something.
In the first 3 games.
Yeah. I just think if they don't have any injuries, I think they got a good enough they got a decent enough roster to make top 4.
Do you know what they're missing? And I reckon they'll pick it up this year. They need a veteran. They need somebody that's been through it all. And they'll probably end up with it all if they're smart, and if they do it in a clever way, they get somebody either on the buyout market, or you're gonna see a trade before the trade deadline where they'll pull in. See, like, I know he's gone back to Golden State, but a perfect player for a team like that would have been like an Iguodala. Someone who's like, they weren't the leader of the team, but they were there all the way through it, and they're sort of part of that soul and spirit, and they know how to get through a seven game grind. Just being there on the bench, like a Rondo, even, like someone like that. I reckon that's what Charlotte needs to round off their fucking their roster and get them into that top 4, top 5, because I'd love to see that. That'd be awesome, man. LaMelo and the guys, Bridges, fucking hell, man.
I think they've got to ask the Nets and the Lakers, because those teams took all the old guys. That'll be good. That'll be good in the locker room.
Please, sir.
But they should ask what's his name to come back out of retirement. JJ Redick.
Bro, he'd be perfect. He would be perfect. Yeah. Or even like a guy, like, not that he did shit, but someone like Dudley on the coaching staff. Like, if they could get someone that may have just retired and get him on the coaching staff, even like JJ Redick. Make him some sort of special coach. You know how they come up with all these bullshit roles when they want to keep someone close to the team, so that they could be in all the players' ears and shit. But yeah, man.
So we're talking about the Charlotte Hornets. They are one of 7 teams that are undefeated right now in the NBA. So those teams are Chicago Bulls, the Hornets, like we talked about, the Washington Wizards, undefeated. They're 2-0. I was telling Adam earlier, like, it's funny. Westbrook leaves and they're 2-0. But the other teams are Jazz, Timberwolves, and the Nuggets.
And Warriors.
Undefeated. And the Warriors. Now, how do you think the Warriors will do this season? Because they come up to a hot start. They're undefeated in the preseason. They're just carrying on. They had a good win against Lakers. Mind you, that was the Lakers' first game. Steph's been on fire. He's already averaging 31 points, 7 assists, 9 rebounds. So I'll start with you, Ash. What's your take on the Golden State Warriors? How do you think they'll do this year?
Excuse me. So on our way too early predictions, I had Golden State finishing somewhere in the middle of the pack, so maybe in a little bit lower, so from somewhere between 5 to 7, maybe the 4 to 7, 4 to 8 range, just because of the way it'll pan out in the standings, and being a division winner and all that sort of bullshit. But I think once it gets to the playoffs, it won't matter. They'll find themselves probably in the Western Conference Finals against us. What you see now isn't what they're going to be looking like in, say, Feb. You'll get Klay Thompson coming back, hopefully, fingers crossed, around Christmas time, with no setbacks. You're going to have Wiseman coming back shortly. You're going to have their rookie Kuminga in the game. Look, you got these other guys, and I was telling my brother-in-law, because he's a Golden State guy. We were talking about it last night and today, and it's like, I'm so surprised that, and it's good. It's actually refreshing to see guys growing, organically grown into a system. So, but it was because of injuries that this happened, right? So, like, everybody got fucking injured and left, and it was left with just Steph pretty much, in the team, and all these fucking guys, Jordan Poole, Damian Lee, and all these other random dudes, that Toscano guy last year, and you still had who they have, Pascal last year, he's gone now, but you got Looney, and you thought, well, these guys are just sort of stopgaps until everybody else gets healthy and they get in some big names and whatnot. But dude, these guys have turned out into decent players. Like, they're hitting, they have come up in that system, and that's why they're doing so damn well. People think it's a fluke, or it's just Steph. Nah, it's a system. These guys were grown, or they progressed through the system organically, and that's why they're as good as they are right now. You watch that shit, you're like, fuck, who the hell's Toscano? Who's Lee? Who's Jordan Poole? Like, honestly, these guys wouldn't be starters. They'd probably be G League players that played for any other team. But because they're with the Warriors, they came up through that system. A couple of those guys came up through the G League. I mean, it's great seeing Gary Payton's son finally having like a proper spot on a team. He sort of floats in and out of rosters. Unfortunately for him, when Klay comes back, he'll fall out again. But I mean, they're all there, and they've all bought into Steve Kerr's system, and that's why they're gonna be good, man. I reckon. But again, it'll be a different team come Feb, March. When these other guys come in, because right now they're playing small ball. Come then they'll be playing. They can play big ball, because you're gonna have the likes of Wiseman and Kuminga, who they can slide in and out of the lineup.
Yeah, Jordan Poole is the second leading scorer on the team right now, out of the games they've already played. So that's a good point about the guys that they've that's the only team they've been with, and they are growing. Adam, have you got any more points about the Golden State Warriors, or is there any other team that you've got your eye on in the NBA so far?
Yeah, just to compliment kind of what Ash is saying, like, that they've got, it must be the culture and the system that they got in place where players can organically grow within the system. They don't need to specifically look for big name talent guys, and maybe it's similar to the Patriots, where like they don't need you to be a big star, but if you fit the stats and the role that they need for that specific position, it doesn't matter who you are. You could be fucking Joe Schmo off the sidewalk, but if you have what they need in that specific role, like you're gonna excel. And Ash is completely right. Come Feb, it's going to be a different team. And the one thing that's great now is these young guys. They're really, he said Toscano, Lee, Paul. These guys, they're basically auditioning. So if they push some of these vets who don't quite make it, or they can ease into it, that's great. But at the same time, your second unit is going to be fucking dope, regardless. Like, you got Iguodala just being the veteran head, managing the clock. He doesn't have to do shit when you got like Paul, Lee, Wiseman, Looney, any of these guys that are just, they're learning right now. They've got Draymond, they got Steph around them, and they can just absorb Iguodala. You've got 5 or 4 of the the original guys there. So I mean, that's a system that's really gonna benefit them in the long run. terms of other teams, on the Western Conference, yeah, I think what Ash said, like ultimately, if everything plays out, you might just have the Warriors and the Lakers in the Western Conference final. You've got all these other teams that played their part last year and made it exciting. I don't know if the Suns can go back. I mean, there's the same shit, man. When I saw them play the Lakers, they're like an ADD child. Like they just got so much energy, man. They don't know how to stop, and that's good. But I think people will be able to counter that. They can't just be ADD non-stop, fucking 82 games. They're gonna they're gonna get an injury or something. Eastern Conference, I think the rosters have been spread quite interestingly. Like, you got the Heat, you got the Bulls, you got the Hornets. I think a lot of these younger guys are kind of spreading across the Eastern Conference, and that might be a little bit more loaded for my top eight. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if the normal powerhouses, the Nets, the Bucks, if they finish top three or top eight. But yeah, I'd like to see the Nets just not even fucking make it, but that's just me. I hate the Nets.
Yeah, it's funny because when you talk about the Bucks, they won their season opener, but their next game they got annihilated by the Heat. They got wasted. Like it must have been a hangover from the ring celebration or something like that. Yeah, the ring ceremony or something like that. But yeah, but that told me this is going to be up and down season for a lot of these teams, even the teams that you expect to be dominant right for the season. I don't think there's going to be any dominant teams. You might see some teams that might go for a run in the middle of the season. Like remember the old days when a team every season would take like a 20 game run or something like that, 15 game, 10, 12 game run,
and then they don't even make the playoffs, or they get knocked out in the first round. Well, it's like it's this early season shit. You're looking at the teams that are undefeated, and you're like, all right, which one of these teams, exactly what you said, Karen, which one of these teams is going to go 5 or 6-0 and they won't even make the playoffs? You know what I mean? Because that just sort of happens every year, where you got this sort of flash in the pan. Again, preseason for people who don't follow basketball religiously every year like we do, for those novices that listen to this, and they get stuck on the hype train from preseason, and then they see their team still doing good in the regular season. Guess what? Those are the teams that had their whole starting roster playing through to the third quarter in all their preseason games, because they suck. And by the time they get to the fucking first couple games of the regular season, they're still rolling because they were on a run. But eventually, the good teams who rested their players, don't give a fuck about the preseason, like my Lakers. That's why we lost all 6 games. No, but real shit, like, you'll see the good teams, eventually they find their fucking footing, and then slowly but surely they make their way back up, and you see those other teams start to fall back down. Who knows, man? I'm like Adam, man. I'm high on Charlotte. I like the brand of basketball they're playing. It's exciting, man. Whether it's a winning brand, yet to be seen. But fuck, man. You look at, like you said, you've got the Clippers who haven't won a game yet. You know what I mean? I doubt that'll last for long. As much as I can't stand them, I still think they'll be floating around in sort of the bottom of the 8. Because without Kawhi, PG's got it all on his shoulders, and Reggie Jackson and Eric Bledsoe can't be that number 2. At least to get you to fucking...
That's not enough.
Nah.
Yeah, it's not enough. I was talking to you guys on our chat earlier today about, because the New York and Orlando Magic game was on.
Ooh,
and I was impressed with that team, man. The Orlando Magic team. That's a young. Historically, I always love these young teams. The teams that just got young cats just trying to make do, but they play hard. But this team, Orlando Magic, man, you can see that they're young and they played hard, and they pushed them to the limits, and won the game in the end. But yeah, man,
that's a team made up of all people that nobody else wanted. They were all guys that not nobody else wanted, but you know what I mean? Like, didn't really pan out from where they were when it was supposed to be them, or they're just journeymen, that just ended up there collectively. And they played their ass off. When you sent that message, I actually checked the game on, because we were watching Houston and Boston. we were watching Jalen Green, and as soon as you said, I was like, Tully, swap over, man. Let's watch Orlando in the next game, and that was badass, man. You had the Wagner brothers. I didn't even know that Mo was fucking in Orlando, and that his younger brother got drafted by them, and it's like it was dope seeing two German brothers fucking balling out, and then you had who else was on the team today?
You had RJ Hampton, the ex-breaker, New Zealand breaker.
I missed him because when I jumped in, he'd already done his minutes. But you had like Wendell Carter Jr., like these guys who were just like guys you're like, oh fuck. Terrence Ross. Now I always thought Terrence Ross has been good, but he's just always stuck in a shitty situation. You know, when he was in fucking Toronto, they weren't all that. He left before they won it, didn't they? They moved him before so he didn't get a chip, did he?
Nah, I think so.
Not sure.
I think he was already in Orlando. So it's like some of these guys, you know, you're like, oh man, like Markelle Fultz, is he playing for them? I don't even know, man. He wasn't on the roster. He wasn't like.
He done his ACL.
He's in
ACL
IR. So he's not even fucking. Oh, okay.
No.
Robin Lopez,
Yeah. Oh, bro, it was that shit was great, man.
Sideshow Bob.
Mo Bamba.
They've got their rookie Jalen Suggs who played for Gonzaga.
That's right.
He's a strong finisher, and he's doing it. He's doing it in the team, so it's pretty good. I think he's the starting point guard.
Yeah.
No, fucking Orlando, man.
But I mean, the only one thing I will say is there's still 80 There's still 79 games left, and there's actually still a lot of player movement to happen. Like there's still plenty of time for Dwight Howard to piss off Anthony Davis, and AD says, LeBron, let's get this motherfucker out. There's still time for Westbrook to not live up to his hype and fucking he's trade bait. But the one thing that I hope doesn't happen this season, because there was a small gap, is that I hope injuries do not completely fuck the season like last season. Like, I mean, because they're playing the roster on the players, and they've had that shorter off season. Like, if we could have like a uninterrupted injury-free season, that's what's going to make it most exciting for me. Like, I want these young guys to like test themselves against a fully fit team for a whole season. There's no point in the Hornets being like 60-20, but like fucking LeBron, like, you know, all of these 75-year-old or the 75 anniversary players aren't playing. Like, then what's the point?
What's the point?
Like, you don't want a watered down season. So I just hope injuries don't fuck shit over, and then it's like, come on, man, bring it.
And I'll be the devil's advocate to that. Is you saw what happened last year because we had a shortened season in the bubble. The teams that made it the furthest, excluding Milwaukee, in the playoffs, were the healthiest teams. Mind you, Milwaukee didn't make it all the way to the finals in the bubble, so they had more time off than some of the other teams. So it was the healthiest teams made it to the finals. And some of the teams that got knocked out early in the playoffs last year, don't be surprised if they're the ones in the fucking end, because they've had a longer time off. Like, example, LeBron. He's played to the finals every year, fucking like how many years in a row? He did like 9 years in a row he was in the finals, right? And then he got hurt and had the time off. What happened? Came back, had a break in between the regular season and the playoffs because of the whole bubble situation. He won the chip. Then he got hurt last year. Didn't do shit. Had the longest break again in another long ass break in his career. Hopefully he stays, knock on wood, he fucking stays healthy this year. Who knows? You know what I mean? But that's just one example of the many teams that, like you said, if they had the longer layoff because of the shortened off season, I reckon those would be the teams. And you're going to see injuries probably. Unfortunately, I think the teams that went deep last year, maybe teams like Milwaukee, possibly Phoenix, they might be teams that you're going to see getting some injuries somewhere along the way. Talk about Phoenix, fucking Cameron Payne talking shit, huh?
Yeah, so that.
Fuck. I told you, remember we were talking last year, I said I'm not sold on him. I got to wait and see what happens. He's balling. He's still trying to ball, but let's just see. You talking shit. That motherfucker wasn't even in the league 2 years ago. Like, come on now, bro. Like, you sat on the fucking OKC bench for 2 years being Westbrook's dance partner.
Yeah. Hey, Adam, you touched on player movement, and I just want to talk about because this is an ongoing story. You know, it hasn't been resolved. I'm talking about the Ben Simmons situation. Like, he's still he's still sitting in limbo there. I think the latest news was that he came out and said he will come back until he gets his mental state in order. Now you can take that as you want. You can take it as mental health, or you can take it as just have a mentality to play again. Because of all the drama happening. Now I think that's the sort of argument they're having on the media over there in America. Like, if it's about mental health, then that's a totally different story, because it's a real serious thing. But there's disagreements between them thinking it is about mental health or just the mentality to be game shape, So you take it how you take it, I guess. But have you guys got any thoughts on that on that situation?
I'm gonna be blunt. I'm gonna be blunt. I think he's using the mental health thing to dodge paying fines for not showing up, and I call him a prick for that. He's not Naomi Osaka. He's not under legit pressure. He just doesn't want to pay his fees for being a prick. I'm gonna say it. And I think the best place for him, Ash was right. He needs to go to the Trailblazers. That'll sort him out.
Straight up, dog. Straight up.
Dame Dollar will just say, let's get in the ring, 1 ounce.
That's
1,
right.
2. You sorted? You good? Your mental health all good? Let's go.
And Chauncey
I'll tell you
Billups
one
don't
thing,
take shit.
he's not worth McCullum. He's not worth McCullum, that's one thing. He's not worth McCullum.
Bro,
So
they're gonna trade him.
keeping
They're
our
gonna
core.
trade him straight up from McCullum.
Nah, that's what 76ers want. See, 76ers think they can get something good for him, but I think he's lost his value. I think his stock has gone right down.
It's
the
McCullum
point.
plus future trade picks, though. They've got to sweeten it for 76ers.
Their first round picks for the next 3 years, Oos, and then 2 trade swaps after that. It's gonna be the Paul George deal all over again. Do you know what? He should go to the Clippers, Oos, and they can sell like the next 15 years of their franchise to get him. Be like, dude, we'll give you all our first round picks for the next 20 years, like.
He's with a Kardashian, right? They'll be happy with him in LA.
Oh, exactly. Straight up, man. Fucking hell. Oh, bro. But look at this. Philly today. Okay, so it was OKC they played. But fucking Seth Curry went off for 28. 7 for 10 3-point. He outscored fucking Embiid. So, do they even need him? I mean, it's a tall ask. But if you've got guys like Tobias Harris, you got a sort of half-decent team. There's some guys in there that are growing organically similar to Golden State that are getting better. So I don't know. They might not need that massive trade package that they are so much yearning for. But like, I mean, so what you're saying about him, like, it's an excuse. It definitely is an excuse. He's using it as an excuse. But I think it's because Philly forced his hand. Philly tried to make it out like it's all his fault. They burnt his ass in the beginning as soon as that playoff game finished. Him and Doc and Embiid threw him under the bus. And I think ever since then, their management was trying to figure out a way how they could backtrack off that and make it seem like it's his fault. You know what I mean? Because they fucked up. I agree with their comments, but you don't say that shit out loud. And he has all grounds to be doing that shit that he's doing. Him and Kyrie, they should go play in China together or some shit.
Go follow LiAngelo Ball. What was it? Is that the other brother who got dropped for stealing on that trip? Yeah, go follow him to the G League or some shit.
Yeah, because he just got drafted by Charlotte.
Yeah, no.
By the G League team.
But yeah, no, there's definitely some shit going on in the background that we don't know about, but both parties have aired shit publicly that they probably shouldn't have done. So, I mean, no one's in the right. Neither party's dealt with it right. It's shit for him because there's one of him, but there's a whole organization on the other side.
Hard out.
Fucking Embiid's like up and down. Like he trashed him, then the day later he's like, we're here to support him. Like, man,
I'd call
your
bullshit.
person.
Yeah, though,
Yeah.
I'd look at him like, bullshit, you're full of shit.
He's reading
you
a script.
big
It's like,
motherfucker.
what script are they giving you today? Like, read that. Go on. Like,
Yeah, read it
be a
again.
Man.
You can't even read that shit properly, homie. Why don't you type it out in a tweet? No.
It's a shit show. Is all I can say. It's been not been handled right from both parties, like you guys said. Yeah, I believe that. I think also if you guys listen to what Charles Barkley's been saying about it, like I 100% agree with him. Like, as a player, it's NBA is a business, right? And you are the product. So, you got to be professional about it. If there's something in your game you need to improve on to get more money or to get your stocks up, then you gotta use that off season to train up and get better. And you shouldn't take anything personally. It's business at the end of the day. And if you're a true professional, you will understand that. And I think that's a fault from both parties, because if you're talking about being a true professional, I don't think it was professional that as soon, because you remember how this all started back in the playoffs, how they handled the reaction to the media, Embiid and Rivers and Doc Rivers, where they actually didn't say it, but they sort of tiptoed around the fact that they said that they blamed it on that play, that one play where where Simmons didn't go for that dunk, and the crowd, the Philly crowd just jumped on board that, and because it's the Philly crowd, you can't do that. You can't do that shit. So yeah, man, it's been bad from the start, and I think it's gotten even worse with how both parties have been, trying to cover it up or, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's interesting to see what happens, because I don't think this happened before. I think
it's happened before. It's happened before. It's happened where a player don't want to be there and then they force their way out. James Harden did that shit last year, and what the fuck happened to him? He didn't want to play games.
Harden he didn't really make a whole fiasco about it.
He just didn't want to play. That motherfucker just straight up didn't want to play, and he was just he was throwing the shit, and then he was just sitting out games. Houston didn't fucking suspend him. Houston didn't not pay him. Houston fucking, in fact, what did they do? They granted his wish and they sent his ass to fucking Brooklyn. There have been times where players have forced their way out of team and shit never hit the fan. The reason why it's hitting the fan is because Doc Rivers and Embiid talk shit after the playoffs, after they lost. And now they're trying to retract all that shit, try to make it out like it's his fault. Yeah. Dude, they should just fucking own it. Just own that they fucked up. Shouldn't have said nothing else. Just been like, dude, this guy wants to go. Let's let him go. And he'd be on another team right now. They'd have his replacement. We wouldn't even be talking about it right now. We're like, oh, man, isn't it amazing, man? Look at this new player playing for Philly. Look what Ben Simmons looks like in San Antonio or wherever the fuck he went. You know what I mean? Because I think there's some teams where he could go and really thrive. Like a team like San Antonio, Popovich just sort his ass out. Popovich should take him one-on-one. Possibly be like, come out here, motherfucker. But Doc Rivers, to me, I've never liked that motherfucker. The only time I liked him is when he was a player, because I was a Dominique fan, and he was point guard for the Hawks back in the day when I was a little kid. So I liked Doc back then. But once it's like when he became a coach, look, he was Boston head coach, and I was like, fuck the Celtics. But that was what it was. It was just me not liking the team. It had nothing to do with him as the guy. But then when he came to the Clippers, what was the first thing he did when he became head coach of the Clippers? He went and put fucking selfies over the goddamn chips in the stadium, or the Lakers chips. Now, in no sport, whereas somebody shares an arena with another team, do they cover up accolades of the other teams that share that stadium? He fucking did that. That was all on Doc Rivers. Look that shit up. That was him. Because I think he was also he was, I think, president of the team as well when he first became coach, wasn't he? He had like full reins of the goddamn team. And what the first thing he did, he went and put fucking selfies of like fucking JJ Redick and Chris Paul and all these assholes. Ain't done shit. Got them over our 16 banners. So nah, fuck him, man. Ben Simmons should fucking knock Doc Rivers' ass out.
Well, did the Charles Sprewell on him?
Yeah. Hard out, chuck his ass out.
But the situation I was going to talk about was the NFL situation with Le'Veon Bell and the Pittsburgh Steelers. You remember that one? When he wanted out and he didn't show up to training. He just and he had to forfeit the season because he didn't even turn up.
Yeah.
And they ended up tearing up his contract. He was looking for another team. He didn't get what he wanted in the end. The New York Jets picked him up and they dropped him. But now he's over at Baltimore Ravens now. So I think he's doing.
He's like the fifth string running back and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's only playing because the first three are all hurt.
yeah, that's right. So it'll be interesting to see if Ben Simmons has a similar sort of path as Le'Veon Bell. But yeah, we'll see. But we'll keep the listeners up to date with our opinions on that story. But now, boys, sweet. It's a good episode, man. Have you guys got any last words before we sign off?
Where's Kyrie?
Last words. Most hated player this season for me. I love to hate him. Tyler Hero. Fuck that. Fuck him.
And he's been the man. He's been the man for Miami.
He wants to know why he's not in the top 25 under 25. He thinks he believes.
He's going for it now. He's going for it now. He's got something to he's got his goal in front of him now. He's looking forward to it.
Got a chip on his shoulder.
Oh yeah, my last word is LA Clippers are 0-2. They haven't won a game yet. Sorry, my bad. 0-3. I was being nice. No, 0-3. They'll go 0-6.
Okay, my last word is my team, the Portland Trailblazers. Now they had a shocking first game. I watched that game and I was like pulling my hair out because they were like useless in defense in the first half. It took McCollum to put his head on straight and try and make a comeback, and they did almost make the comeback, but it was too late. But they made it up for it though when they won their next game. So by like for 30 points, 20 points.
Bro.
So pretty happy with that second game. But go Blazers.
Hey, team that when we spoke last, we were talking about teams who made shit moves and we're going to be shit house at the end of the year, sort of thing. And I had Toronto on that list. Now I caught a glimpse of their game today, and I caught a little bit of it. Yesterday's game. They're doing some things that I don't know. They don't look as bad as I thought they would look. So I don't know, man.
They smoked the Celtics after the Celtics had that double OT game against the Knicks.
They were tired. Celtics were tired.
I mean, like you said, the good teams just don't put the effort in, right? The early season.
That's right.
What's the point? 80 games.
79 games.
Yeah.
79 games.
Yeah.
That shit is going to run the whole fucking season. You watch. We're going to be bringing that up. Don't worry. It was 3 more games.
Sorry. One more game. Just need to win by 500 points.
Yeah, don't worry. We got halftime. It's halftime.
It's only wild card.
It's all good. So the play-in tournament. It's all good. We want to go win it. We want to go in as the 8th seed.
10-1 all the way. Start at 10. Go 1.
Yeah, hard out. Oh shit.
Well, sweet boys. Man,
Sweet.
that's us for another episode, man. We'll catch up next week, hopefully, and talk some more NBA.
For sure.
All right.
All good.
All right, dudes.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.